Kemi smiled at him, thinking he was just another charming man at the wedding. She had no idea that saying hi would cost her her happiness, her health, and nearly everything she had worked for. This is African Folktales with Nsinem. Listen to Kemi's story. Patrick was the lead singer of a live band at a wedding Kemi had attended. He sang beautifully, holding the crowd captive and drawing women like magnets. Kemi should have run right there and then, but she was too taken by his courage and charisma to notice she wasn't the only woman swooning over Patrick. Her heart had beaten faster when he smiled at her. Not because he was handsome, he wasn't, but because something about him felt dangerous and exciting at the same time. And that something was going to destroy all her years of hard work and put her life in danger. Patrick had that thing that drew women to him like bees to honey, and Kemi was hooked. She approached him backstage and got his number, and that was the beginning of her troubles. She invited him out for brunch, and there she learned he was a struggling artist who ran a small laundry and dry cleaning business.
Kemi understood struggle. She owned several businesses herself and had once fought her way to success. Now she was fully into agriculture, exporting palm oil, crayfish, and smoked fish, while managing plantations and farms across the country.
Kemi was doing well financially, but she needed a man.
At 39, she could hear time ticking louder than ever. Their relationship was a whirlwind romance. He obviously didn't have money to give Kemi, but he more than made up for that in the bedroom. Simply put, he satisfied her in ways she had never experienced. He took Kemi to clouds she didn't know existed. And as a plus-sized woman who had always been self-conscious of her weight, she was pleasantly surprised at how well Patrick enjoyed and accepted her body, or so she thought. There was one little thing she noticed, something she convinced herself was insignificant. Patrick had so many women in his inbox. He was still chatting with other women, planning dates with them while they had started dating. Kemi thought it would stop when they got married, but things were going to go into a difficult dimension. A little while into their relationship, Patrick proposed to Kemi. It was one of the happiest days of her life. For a woman who always felt unattractive, someone finally found her worthy. On the day of the wedding, something very weird happened. The videographer was documenting moments at the wedding. He interviewed the bride and a few friends. Of course, the bride gushed at how happy she was to be Patrick's wife, but when it got to Patrick, he said the unthinkable. He said Kemi was a wonderful woman, and one of the things he loved about her was that she accommodates him, and that he joked that he planned to stress her and she should be ready. Kemi didn't hear any of these until months after the wedding, when the videographer brought the compiled and edited footage of the wedding. At this time, Kemi's life had turned upside down. Kemi now saw the side of Patrick infatuation had blinded her from seeing. He started by complaining about her weight, asking her to visit the gym more. A month into the wedding, he was now making snide comments about her belly and her back fat. These digs got to her already poor and battered self-esteem that Kemi immediately started going to the gym, and one day she got back home and realized she was bleeding. A trip to the hospital exposed a heartbreaking truth. She had lost her first pregnancy because of the intense exercise she had put herself through because of Patrick.
Then, the messages on his phone came for her peace of mind. Well, it can be argued that women shouldn't go through their man's phone if they don't want a heart attack, but I guess Kemi didn't get the memo. Because every night, while Patrick lay like a log of wood and snored in his sleep, Kemi would go through his phone meticulously, moving from one app to another, going through his messages, socials, phone gallery, everything. And for every app she went through, each message felt like a sharp pain shooting from her chest to her head. There were all sorts of explicit and inappropriate conversations. He exchanged inappropriate messages with these women. He would describe in detail what he was planning on doing to these women, and Kemi's heart would bleed. But there was one particular lady's messages that stood out. Her name was Ada. She had been one of the groomsmen at their wedding. She was a slim, athletic lady. And because she was the only lady who had dressed as a man and joined the groomsmen, Kemi remembered her. From the chats, Kemi learned the lady was married with a child, but she realized they had been having relations for years. The things she read in their chats made Kemi vomit, and of course there were bank transfers made to the lady from her husband. At this point, Kemi was even scared of confronting him. Things became more heated when Patrick asked Kemi to make him the chairman of her companies. Kemi refused, And that was when Patrick drew the battle line and the marriage became a war zone. He rarely came home, and when he did, he usually drained her self-worth with his mouth. Slowly and surely, her health took the next hit.
And Patrick could care less. Whenever she begged for his attention, he would say she was just pretending, and that nothing was wrong with her.
He mounted more pressure on her until she handed over the company to him. Kemi was hoping it would make him happy and he would love her again. But that was Kemi checking into the hotel called A Fool's Paradise. But very soon, a series of events would unfold that would shock even Patrick. A warm shout-out goes to Eme, watching from Nasarawa in Nigeria, Nonkologeko, watching from South Africa, Tola, watching from Zambia, Asiato Jalo, watching from Sierra Leone. You all made me feel so happy with your comments. Thank you. Back to the story.
If Kemi thought giving Patrick the financial reins of her companies would reignite love in his heart, the only thing it did was to cripple her. Patrick transferred huge amounts of money day in and day out, and like you would guess, her health got even worse. One day, Patrick went out and came back a week after and didn't find Kemi. After waiting 24 hours, he went to the police and reported that his wife had been kidnapped. Do you have any idea what happened to Kemi? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And while you're there, give this story a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones you feel will enjoy it. Back to the story. The police came and he told them everything. Weeks after, Kemi was still nowhere to be found, but things were about to take a dramatic and unexpected turn. Patrick, the grieving husband whose wife had gone missing, was at his favorite bar having a good time when he spotted a beautiful young lady. Oh, she was beautiful. Patrick's type of lady. She was tall, slim, a bit athletic, with curves at the right places. She was having a drink, and Patrick could not stop himself from walking up to her. When he got there, he found himself even more drawn to her. There was something a bit familiar about her, and yet Patrick knew he had never set his eyes on her. He quickly shook off the strange feeling and offered to buy her a drink. She ignored him. She kept on drinking, and after a while she gathered her purse and was about to leave when the bartender called out to her not to leave without paying. The lady ignored the bartender and still got to her feet. She had only walked a few feet away from the bar when the bartender ran to her and held her by the wrist. "Madam, you have to pay before leaving. That's our policy," the bartender said. "Are you harassing me because of a few naira notes?" the lady screamed. "Then pay it," the bartender insisted. A serious struggle started between the two people. Patrick got up and tried to pry the bartender's fingers away from the young lady's wrist. And kpa! A slap landed on someone's cheeks. It was Patrick's cheeks. The young lady slapped him, and really hard too. Immediately Patrick was slapped. The bartender let go of the lady and went back to his post. "Who the hell are you?" said the lady. "Who invited you into this case?" she added. She picked up her purse that had fallen to the floor during the scuffle and walked out. Patrick was immediately intrigued, and like a moth to a flame, he followed her. She had walked down to the taxi stand, where cabmen stood with their cabs waiting to be chartered for a ride. His cheeks were still burning from the hot slap, but Patrick was fascinated by this strange lady. "Can I take you home?" Patrick asked the strange but beautiful lady. She turned to look at him from head to toe. She turned and walked towards the car park. "Where is your car?" she asked. Patrick ran after her. Following her directions, he drove straight to a hotel. She was lodging in one of the most expensive hotels in Lagos. That night, Patrick couldn't sleep. His entire thoughts were centered on the strange lady. By 6 a.m., Patrick was already packed outside the hotel, hoping to see the lady, and he was in luck. By 8 in the morning, he saw her coming out with a little suitcase. Patrick was completely taken by her beauty. He hurried to her side. "I was hoping I would see you again," he said in the sexiest tone he could muster. The lady looked at him like they had never met. So Patrick decided to explain last night's incident. "Oh, you're the busybody," said the young lady. Patrick took it as a joke and laughed. But what was about to transpire between them was too laughable. He asked the lady if she was checking out, and she simply told him she was tired of the hotel and was looking for another hotel to check into. There and then, Patrick, whose wife had just mysteriously disappeared, asked a strange lady he just met to come stay at his place for the duration she needed to stay in Lagos. He was both pleased and delighted that the lady agreed, and he took her to his house. When they got to the house, he told her to give him a few minutes to tidy up the house a bit. Patrick went into the house and took down all of Kemi's pictures. Then he came back and ushered her into the house. That day, he ushered in not just a strange lady, but more than he could have ever imagined. She entered the house and looked around. "So, is this how you carry women you don't know into your home?" she asked. Patrick didn't say a word.
Anyways, my name is Tola, she said, and sat down on the couch. Get me something to eat, she said, and Patrick hurried into the kitchen and returned moments after with a tray of well-cooked jollof rice with spicy chicken. While they ate, Patrick told Tola about himself, conveniently leaving out Kemi from his story completely. After eating, Patrick took Tola to her room. Patrick watched her like a starving man watching food. He was completely obsessed with Tola. Just breathing the same air with her was enough for him. She started making monetary demands in millions, and he obliged. One day, his longtime lover Ada came to the house uninvited. Immediately she saw Tola seated by the pool drinking a glass of wine. Ada flared up. I know you have other women, Patrick, but how could you bring them here? I shared you with that fat pig, but I won't share you with her. Ask her to leave now, Ada demanded. But Patrick ended up forcing her out. Tola demanded more money almost on a daily basis, and Patrick kept on making the transfers. The same man who made Kemi feel like she wasn't enough because of her weight is now a houseboy to Tola. He is running to the kitchen to fry chicken for a woman who slapped him in public. If only he knew that every naira he transfers to Tola is a nail in his own coffin. One day, a meeting was held, and the board of directors brought a little detail to Patrick's attention. The board members looked at each other. One cleared his throat. Another pushed a file toward Patrick. Patrick smiled confidently. He stopped smiling when he opened it. There was a clause in the company's bylaws that prevented the chairman from transferring more than a certain amount of money from the company's account. Patrick had gone over the limit and was mandated to step down immediately. The ball had already started rolling, and Patrick had no idea. One day, he got home to meet a very cheerful Tola. She told Patrick that she was going to buy a house and needed him to sign as a guarantor. A very eager Patrick signed the documents, and Tola gave him a peck on the cheek. Patrick felt transported to heaven with just that peck. Days after, he woke up to find Tola was gone. It was as though she never existed. It was then he realized he didn't even have her number. He didn't even know her surname. He had been so careful not to upset her that he couldn't even get some vital information from her. He went through the house and checked everywhere. Nothing was missing. All the cars were parked outside. All of Kemi's expensive jewelry was intact. He made a mental note to start selling them. He checked everywhere and everything was intact. Weeks after Tola's disappearance, he woke up to a loud bang at the door. He got there to find Kemi with some policemen and Tola. Yes, his mysterious Tola. They all came into the house. The police immediately served him a restraining order. There were chats between Patrick and Ada, where he said he wished he could do away with her and still keep her money. The chat was evidence. Apparently, while Kemi had been in despair over the monster she had married, she had confided in her maternal cousin Tola, who was a criminal lawyer in Atlanta. Patrick had never met Tola or seen her pictures before, so it was easier to fool him, especially since Tola was obviously his type. Tola had given Kemi all the strategic moves she had executed. The papers Tola had given him to sign were a transfer of Kemi's assets back to her. She had also kicked him out of the company. Just as he was about to be escorted out of the premises, a bailiff who was with them served him divorce papers. Though Kemi was still working on her physical and mental health, she no longer had to worry about her sweat or the wealth she had amassed alone going down the drain. After Patrick had been served the restraining order and divorce papers, Kemi finally exhaled. But freedom alone wasn't enough. Years of manipulation, betrayal, and heartbreak had left scars on her mind, her body, and her confidence. She retreated to her estate up north, surrounded by the quiet strength of her farms, her palm plantations, and her businesses, taking time to heal and plan her next moves. Kemi wasn't alone. Her cousin Tola, the mysterious young woman who had appeared at Patrick's house, joined her in Lagos to tie up the final pieces. Together, they had orchestrated Patrick's downfall from the start. The signed documents, the transfers back to Kemi, and most importantly, Tola leaked all the chats and pictures shared between Ada and Patrick. Ada's husband, who had suspected her of cheating for years, finally had proof. Divorce papers followed, and Ada's reputation was ruined. Kemi didn't hear it from Tola, she read about it in a blog.
When she asked Tola about it, her cousin feigned ignorance. A small, knowing smile betrayed everything, but she said nothing, leaving Kemi to savor the poetic justice herself. With Patrick gone and justice quietly served, Kemi focused on rebuilding herself. She sought therapy to heal from the emotional wounds that had haunted her for years. Slowly, she embraced her body and started following plus-size influencers and celebrities online who celebrated confidence, self-love, and beauty in every curve. Kemi began to see herself the way the world should have, strong, worthy, and enough just as she was. Eventually, Kemi met someone new. He was kind, honest, someone who loved her for her mind, her heart, and yes, her body, without pretense or judgment. For the first time in years, she felt safe, cherished, and seen in her entirety. Kemi's life had been tested, and she had risen, not just from betrayal, but into a version of herself she had always deserved. Patrick's manipulations, Ada's deceit, and the years of self-doubt could no longer touch her. She had reclaimed her wealth, her confidence, and her power. If you were in Kemi's shoes, would you have confronted Patrick or waited for justice like she did? Which part of Kemi's story shocked you the most? The betrayal, the manipulations, or her ultimate triumph?
A big warm shout out goes to Jill. I hope you found this story interesting and longer than the last. Your comments on my videos truly brighten my day. Not every enemy comes with a weapon. Some come with charm, sweet words, and a smile. A person who builds happiness on another's pain is only building the stage for their own downfall. If you enjoyed this story, then I am sure you're going to enjoy this story on your screen. Click to watch and I'll see you there.